So in this problem, it is given that one twirls a circular ring whose mass and radius given to us near the tip of one's finger, as you can see in the figure 1. In the process, the finger never loses the contact with the inner rim of the ring, and the finger traces out the surface of a cone as shown by the dotted line in this figure 1. And the radius of the path traced out by the point where the ring and the finger is in contact is small r. And the finger rotates with an angular velocity omega naught. The rotating ring rolls without slipping on the outside of a smaller circle described by the point where the ring and the finger is in contact, as you can see in this figure 2. And the coefficient of friction between the ring and the finger is mu, and the acceleration due to gravity is g. So in the first part of this comprehension, we have to find out what will be the total kinetic energy of this ring. Well, in order to calculate the total kinetic energy of the ring, first of all, we have to be sure about the kind of motion, whether it is in combined translation and rotational motion, or that this ring is in pure rotation about a fixed axis. Because in both the cases, we have to make use of different formula. So let's try to analyze the motion of this ring first. So if you look at this small circle whose radius is equal to small r, then the point of contact of the finger is going to execute a circular motion along this path. And the angular velocity with which the finger is revolving is given to us as omega naught. So what will be the time period of the revolution of the point of contact of the finger? It is going to be equal to 2 pi by omega naught. So let us first try to visualize the motion of point of contact of the finger first. Later on we will visualize the motion of the ring. So let's imagine that initially this is the point where you have your finger. So this is your t equal to 0. And after a quarter of time, your point of contact of the finger is going to reach at this particular point. So this is at t equal to t by 4. And after half period, the point of contact of the finger will be at this location. So the time is t by 2. And after another quarter of time, it is going to be at this location. So this time is 3t by 4. And after t equal to t, it will again come to its original position. So let us now discuss about the motion of the ring. And we also know that there is no relative motion between the points of contact of the ring and the finger. So keeping in view, let's try to visualize the motion of the ring. So this is your ring whose radius is given to us as r, and this is the initial position of the ring, and this is how the ring is going to look like initially. So the point of contact initially will be at this position, and this is t equal to 0. Now let's try to visualize after a quarter of time, that means at t equal to t by 4, time period by 4, how the ring is going to look like. So you can see that after a quarter of time, the point of contact will be at the bottommost position of this smaller ring, as you can see in this figure, and this is how the ring is going to look like. So this is your t equal to capital T by 4. Now let's see what will be the position of this ring at time period by 2. That means after half a revolution of the finger is over, how the ring is going to look like. So now you can see that at t equal to capital T by 2, that means half a duration, half a cycle of this finger is over, the ring is going to look like this, and this is where you are going to have your point of contact. So we can conclude from this is that by the time your finger completes half a revolution, the ring is also completing half a revolution about a particular axis, and that when you complete the another half of revolution of the finger, then the ring is going to complete also its another half of the revolution. So we can conclude that the time period of revolution of the finger is same as the time period of revolution of the ring. And therefore, the angular velocity with which the ring is revolving is also going to be equal to omega naught. So one thing we already got, that the angular velocity of this ring is also going to be omega naught. Now we have to identify about which axis this ring is going to revolve. That means, is there any fixed axis about which we can say that the motion of this ring is pure rotation? So let's try to find that particular axis. Well, from this diagram itself, it is clear that that axis is nothing but the axis that is passing through the center of this smaller circle and perpendicular to the plane of the screen. Alternatively, we can visualize it in this manner, that this is a side view of the motion of the ring, that this is how your finger is revolving and your ring is going to revolve like this, and this is going to be the axis about which the ring is going to revolve. The axis is passing through the center of revolution of your finger and perpendicular to the plane of the ring. So we can conclude that the motion of this ring is pure rotation, and this is going to be the fixed axis about which the pure rotation is taking place. Well, now it's very easy to find out kinetic energy of this ring by using this formula, that it is equal to half I omega square, and omega is omega naught, and what is I? I is the moment of inertia of this ring about this fixed axis. We already know that moment of inertia of this ring about its geometrical axis, that is equal to m into its radius is capital R, so it is mr square, and the distance between these two parallel axes is already known to us, that it is equal to r minus small r, and therefore this moment of inertia I will be equal to, by using parallel axis theorem, it becomes mr square plus m into r minus r whole square. So the kinetic energy of this ring comes out to be half times mr square omega naught square plus half times mr minus r whole square omega naught square. So this is going to be the kinetic energy of this ring, and when we try to check the options, then we will find that none of the options are going to match with this answer, and this is the reason why JEE has declared this question as bonus. So let's now talk about the second part of this comprehension. So now see, in the second part of this comprehension, we have to find the minimum value of omega naught below which the ring will drop down. So we know that if we reduce the angular speed with which we are revolving our finger, a point will come below which the ring is going to fall down. So we just have to get the value of that minimum value of omega naught. So how we are going to do that? Well, it's very easy. Let's try to analyze the dynamics of this ring. So first of all, let us see how many forces are acting on this ring. The bigger circle is the ring and the smaller circle is the path along which the point of contact of the finger is moving. So one of the force which is going to act on this ring will be the gravity, which is going to act at its center of mass, which is the center of the ring. So this is going to be one of the force. Another force will be, at this particular instant, the finger is going to exert a normal force in this direction, because this is the point of contact of the finger which is going to push this ring in the left direction at this particular instant. So let's say the normal reaction is N, and the friction will be in the upward direction, and we are talking about the minimum value of omega naught. That means we have reduced the value of omega to such an extent that the ring is about to fall. That means it is a case of a limiting friction, and therefore the friction force must be equal to mu times N. So is there any other force acting on this ring? Definitely not. There is no other forces acting on this ring. Now let's talk about the kinematics of this ring. That means what the center of mass is doing. Well, this is the center of mass of this ring, and it is revolving about this axis of rotation. So this is the axis about which the center of mass is moving in a circular motion. And what is the radius of that circular motion? The radius of that circular motion is equal to r minus small r. So the first equation that we are going to get by equating the forces in the y direction, because we are sure that the center of mass is moving only in the horizontal plane. So in the y direction, in the vertical direction, the forces are balanced. So we get an equation as mu n, which is the total upward force, that is equal to total downward force, that is mg. So we get the value of n as mg divided by mu. This is our first equation. And now we are going to analyze the dynamics of circular motion of this center of mass, because this center of mass is revolving about this axis of rotation with an angular speed omega naught. So either we can analyze the dynamics of this circular motion in the ground frame, or we can analyze it in the rotating frame. And usually we analyze the circular motion in the rotating frame, and whenever we do that, we apply an additional force, that is a pseudo force, in the radially outward direction. So let's analyze it in the rotating frame. So if we analyze the motion of this center of mass in the rotating frame, pseudo force must be applied in the radially outward direction, and that force is going to be equal to m omega naught square times r minus r. And when we analyze the circular motion of any particle in the rotating frame, then we equate radially outward forces to radially inward forces as a condition for radial equilibrium. So here you can see that on center of mass, what are the radially outward force? The radially outward force is m omega naught square r minus r. So this is the radially outward force I am writing over here, m omega naught square r minus r, and this has to be equal to the radially inward forces. So see, this normal force and mu n, they can be applied directly to center of mass, because that is how we define center of mass, that we can apply the forces acting on the rigid body directly on the center of mass, and its kinematics are unaffected by that. So let us apply these two forces, normal and mu n, directly on the center of mass. So when we do that, we get a situation like this, that on center of mass in the left direction we have a force n, and in the vertically upward direction the force is mu times n, and in fact in the y direction we have already written an equation, that is mu n equal to mg. So we were talking about the radial equilibrium equation, that is radially outward force, which we have written as m omega naught square r minus r is equal to radially inward force, that in this case is equal to normal n only. So if we put mg by mu in place of n, we are going to get the value of omega naught by solving this equation, and when we solve it, we get the value of omega naught as equal to g divided by mu times r minus r under root. So this is going to be the minimum value of omega naught, below which if you take this value, then the ring is going to fall down, because there is no sufficient friction, because the friction is already in its limit. So the correct answer to this part of the comprehension is going to be your option A.